We create our realities. I hope you guys know that. Like, the fact that there's a spiritual awakening going on right now is because people believe there is a spiritual awakening going on right now. It's because people are actively choosing with their free will to believe that that is our personal reality. And that is the only reason it's going on right now. Because you know what could happen, and it does happen for a lot of people, is they start getting these psychic downloads, they start getting intuitive nudges, intuitive feelings towards this path, and they ignore it. And they're like, no, that's crazy. I'm not going to go, along with that. That doesn't sound right to me. So you guys are fully trusting your souls and fully overriding your minds every time you anchor into the belief that a spiritual awakening, an ascension process, new earth is coming, is happening right now. That is a rewiring of a matrix narrative. Because in the Matrix, that's not logical at all. That doesn't make any logical sense. There's no way human beings have the power and capability to ascend. We're not of galactic origin. We're just humans, like stuff like that. Does that make sense to people? Because I'm like, I don't think people consciously realize how much they're actually rewiring their brains from the Matrix just by believing in a spiritual awakening alone. Just by believing in the spiritual community, or even like witches, the fact that you can, use energy to shift your reality. That's the point of being a witch. It's to wake you up to the idea that you actually have the powers and the capabilities to shift your reality through just your mind. Because that's what you're doing when you're doing spells and stuff. You're not like actually like waving a magic wand and energy comes from the wand. It's like, no, you're putting your energy towards somebody and that actually can shift your reality. It's the same thing. So like witches, they learn through their spells and stuff. Manifestors learn through manifesting stuff. Spoon benders learn through bending spoons. I learned through breaking karmic cycles. Everybody awakens to the exact same thing, which is that we create our realities with our thoughts, our beliefs, and our actions. And we have to actively choose the world that we want to be in. If you want to be in a world where everybody gets along and nobody hates each other anymore, then you have to stop hating people. It's an individual transformation that then projects out into the collective. It is not like something happens outside of us and then it shifts. No. We have to shift and then the outside shifts. Because we are the energy conductors. Energy flows through us. It doesn't come to us, it flows through us. This is something that has been a huge realization for me, like lately. I'm like, whoa. You guys all realize that you are actively starting a revolution by believing in ascension. Because that is exactly what the Matrix has tried to prevent, is ascension. It does everything in its powers and its capabilities to prevent us from believing that we have power over our own brains and our own thoughts and our own choices. And that's why they make our food so addictive. So it's harder to fight making healthier choices for our bodies, because when we make healthier choices for our bodies, we're able to transmute and channel energy easier. And also, you're actively choosing to go against the system that is trying to oppress you by choosing healthier choices when you eat. It's the same thing when you're not hating people. It's like the system wants you to hate people. It loves when we hate people. It loves when we're divided and we're not in unity mindset. Because then we stay divided and we stay distracted and we stay in lower vibrations like anger and hatred and fear and anxiety and desperation and despair and all of those low vibrations. And so if you choose to actively transmute to not hate somebody through reason, that's how I've had to do a lot of stuff lately, is by reasoning my way out of it, by, coming to terms and understanding soul contracts, by understanding that this planet is a simulation and disconnection from source, and nobody's actually evil, it's just whatever their soul contracted to do. And that we're deeply manipulated down here. But also that's by design. The manipulation down here is by design, because souls want to experience disconnection from source so they can have growth. It's the only way you can understand your connection with source in our natural state away from here, which is connection to source, which people with near-death experiences experience. When you die, you have the warm fuzzies and there's a white tunnel and it feels euphoric and all of that stuff. Because that's our natural state. That's what connection to source feels like. And we come down here and we simulate disconnection from source because the planet is the only place you can do that. When you're outside the planet and you're connected back to source, you can't do that anymore. And so it's duality. It's for soul growth. It's the yin and the yang. The light cannot exist without the dark. That's why it's so dark down here. Also, it's getting so dark right now because we're eventually going to have the contrast of that. We're going to have the light. So it's like of course they made it as miserable as possible right now because our souls wanted to experience the contrast of complete darkness and complete light. Now, the difference between now and how history has gone is that our souls and our consciousness contracted to be disconnected from source. But now that we're going through awakening, our consciousness and our souls have contracted to reconnect back with source while we're alive. Usually you can't do that until you physically pass away on this planet. You don't reconnect consciously and in your soul back with source. Now there's bits and pockets and pieces of that. You know, there's lots of people who come down here who are way more connected to source. You know, like revolutionary leaders and things like that. But this is actually, we are in the revolution. That's the thing. Like, people are like, oh, it's time for a revolution. We're due for a revolution. I'm like, it's a revolution of your own consciousness. It's a revolution of your own thoughts, beliefs, and actions. That's what it is. It's actively deprogramming and departicipating from the matrix through your thoughts and your mind and through our awareness. And that's it. It's not something outside of us. It's not going and fighting. That was like 3D, bro. 5D is like you use your mind. We're going to be able to teleport. We're going to have telekinesis. That's why all this stuff is coming about the telepathy tapes and psychics and witches and all this stuff that's really all in the mind. Because it's trying to seed into the subconscious, because we have two brains. We have our subconscious and our conscious brains. Trying to seed into the subconscious the idea of this kind of stuff, that there's so much more to our brains and to us as humans than we are consciously aware of, and that's because it was deeply programmed to be this way. Yeah, I've been having some major downloads lately, but I think a lot of people understand this too. I don't think people don't understand this, but I just feel like I've been going through major revelations here, right? That's also the Christian Bible. It is happening. The book of Revelations is happening, but it's all metaphorical. You know, it's not like we're physically gonna see. Now there's like naughty bad stuff going on down here right now, and stuff's like not good, but I don't think there's gonna be like dragons coming from the sky and like breathing down fire on us. It's metaphorical for the Matrix. Those are the dragons that are breathing fire on us. It's our own programming that is blocking us from living heaven on earth. And you have to actively choose. And that's like where the 144,000 come in. It's 144,000 people that are actively going to choose to switch their frequency and lead people into the consciousness revolution. Now, I don't know if it's exactly 144,000 people. Maybe that was like in the times of like Yeshua who knows? I don't actually think it is. I think it's more than that. I think it's more than 144,000, but I could be wrong. I don't fucking know about that exactly, but it's not literal. It's just metaphorical for literally escaping the Matrix through your own thoughts, beliefs, actions, words, all that stuff. And it is exhausting. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. It takes a lot of silence and meditation and being by yourself and wanting a different reality. And believing that even though you have no proof outside of you right now, it's still happening. It's faith. It's a lot of stuff, kids.